Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our session today on Velixo. Excited to have you all join us today as we take a little bit of a deep dive in terms of the Velixo functionality and how you can maximize the benefit that you get from this valuable add-on to your MYOB Advanced solution. I expect that most of you on this session today are currently using Velixo, either very experienced or learning to find your way, and I'm sure that you'll be excited to see Chris's presentation, and I'm definitely sure there'll be lots of takeaways for each of us here today. Just in terms of a little bit of a housekeeping, we'll jump into this fairly quickly, but we do have a Q&A button within the Zoom interface. Please don't hesitate to ask questions as we go. What we'll do is we'll actually get Chris to take us through a whole lot of tips and tricks, a whole lot of information around the workflow. And at the end of his session, we'll actually go into a dedicated question and answer time, where we'll be sure to cover off all of the questions that you've asked, jump back into Velixo, give some further demonstrations if there's some specific functionality that we need to run through in order to answer those questions. But please don't hesitate to use that Q&A button. Keep the questions coming. We want to make sure that you get the most value out of this session that's possible. I'd just like to welcome Chris Miller to our session today. Chris joins us as one of the key people in the Australasian market as the Velixo distributor, the man who is also very much an evangelist for Velixo and the power of the product. And without any further ado, I want to hand straight over to Chris. Chris, let's jump into it.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you very much for the team at Kilimanjaro for hosting me here and giving us this opportunity. And thank you to all of you for your time. What we're going to go through today is just going to look at the basics of report building. And the question is always asked, why are you going to do that? Well, we've got people on the session from really just new users, and I'm sure there's some of you guys who are absolutely whiz kids when it comes to making Velixo sing. Everybody does it differently, and there's no right and wrong way. Okay, so next thing we'll do is we'll look at a few lesser known functions. Now, there are 80 plus functions that are available to you, and there's more being added all the time. And some of these functions work particularly well in Excel 365. Some of them don't work in the older versions, but most people are now on better versions. So these functions that I'm going to show you will make your life easier. Some of them I'll talk to, and others I'll demonstrate. Then I'm going to touch on the generic inquiry function, because one small function is probably the most powerful of everything. And when you combine that with dynamic arrays in Excel, you can literally do anything to any data you've got sitting in MYOB Advanced. Okay. And then I'm going to build a dynamic report for you across disparate periods. That's where it becomes quite difficult, and I'll take you through how using one or two functions enables you to make that really simple and easy. And then I'll answer any questions you got about Velixo at the end. When you're building a report, as I said earlier, there's no right or wrong way, but some ways are certainly just incredibly more efficient than others. Okay, and most of your reporting starts with your general ledger, or if we get into the GI, a whole lot of other things, but let's just deal with that. You need to understand the structure of your general ledger to the nth degree. And if you've got that down pat, then it's very simple to actually go and translate that into when you know what to deliver, translate that into that picture. Okay, so understand where you want to go, understand what you've got, and then you filling in the middle pieces. Okay, within Velixo, and I'll link you to the standard help function, section on support later, but there are a whole lot of things called list functions, and they enable you to create pictures, look at things, give you dynamic sets of data, and most of them use dynamic arrays within Excel, and they just make life easier and make things dynamic. That's the whole key. If you've written a report correctly, it does a couple of things. The first thing it does is it gives the recipient of that report the data sorted in the way they want. They shouldn't have to take it. and move it around and do this and do that. It needs to give them an answer. So it's just Excel. You can apply any rule to any set of data. Okay. The next is I'm going to take you through, and I'll show you as part of the demo how to create a drop-down list for selection. Now, these are dynamic lists, so that when you want to change a period or change a branch or change a sub account, you can do it with a drop-down list, quick and easy. Understanding the difference between three-dimensional and two-dimensional reporting is also critical when you are building and working reports. Okay. If you look at the thing that's called ARM, the report writer within MYOB Advanced, you can build any report you want to there. You can run it out. And then if you want to run it for another period, you go back in and you rerun it. If you want it for another branch, you go back in and rerun it for another branch. Three-dimensional reporting that you can do with Velixo means that you've got one report and you're literally changing parameters and moving the set of data into different views that work for you. The power of that is phenomenal, but in addition to that, the efficiency of it saves you a huge amount of time and which is just money. Now, the thing in most short supply in all our lives at the moment is time. Particularly, I don't know anybody who isn't working flat out in any business. So if we with Velixo can save you an hour a day, maybe even 2 hours a day, it can make a huge difference in your life and give you a chance to do other things. I'm not going to deal with it, but I'm going to talk to it. Okay. Remembering that Velixo is an Excel-based tool. So because it's Excel-based, you can use multiple entries or entities, doesn't really matter, multiple ranges. You've got the concept of wildcards. So a question mark means anything in that cell at that point. A asterisk means anything in that range. And combining those things together, combining your standard functions out of Excel enables you to just be that much more efficient as well. You don't have to go back and change something. You can do it for a range. Now, doing it for ranges, there's different ways of doing that. I'm not going to teach you Excel, okay? But this relates to the last article on the basis of report running, understanding Excel formulas and functions. We live in an era that you literally at the click of a button through Google or any one of your other search engines can get to any amount of data. So quite often people don't know what they're looking for in that, but what is important is there are functions in Excel that are data specific, and you can have a look at them in Excel. There are ranges of data. Everybody publishes things. You don't have to know any functions because Excel has that wonderful thing called IntelliSense, but you just have to know they exist, and then you can find them, and IntelliSense will help you put in the details, and you'll see that as we go through the demo. So just recapping all of that, and I don't want to spend a long time on it because I mean a lot of you guys are very skilled, probably more skilled than I am even with Excel, but you know, if you understand your report, if you understand what the end user needs, and you set it up right, you will be able to build reports that really make a difference in any organization. There should be no need to do anything manually in Excel. Okay, Velixo can automate the whole lot for you. And I'll honestly say that we've never been stumped. As if you've got data, you can do whatever is mathematically possible to that data. That is the power of the tool, but more particularly, that is the power of this thing called Excel. So if you're not on Excel 365, which is the latest version of Excel, and the whole structuring of the Excel world has changed, I would urge you to get yourself a 365 subscription, because that is the only thing that's being updated at the moment going forward. And they keep adding things to Excel. It's not going away. And 365 is phenomenally powerful. just let's understand the impact of this. And this is a really nice quote that comes from the boss of Acumatica. If you don't know Acumatica, I mean, MYOB Advanced is a white label version of Acumatica. So they use it in-house, and they've been going for years and spend months using all sorts of tools. And he just made the comment that just a few days after installing Velixo reports, the controller had linked all their manual Excel reporting to Velixo. Okay, so Velixo was completely linked. They were now automated and with all the power that's the tool. This is not a demo of where the power is. I want to teach you a little, or just bring your attention to a whole lot of functions and things. Okay, so yeah, a really powerful comment there from Nigel Legrisley. Okay. All right, let's talk about some lesser known functions, the reason why we're all here. And I'll go through them and I'll talk to them. Some of them I'll use in a demo, but they're all sitting at the bottom. There's a link there that takes you to the Velixo help on all the functions. And I'll click into it in a moment at the end and just show you how it all works. It's not difficult, and the way the information is laid out makes life very easy for everybody. Okay, starting at the top there. Financial period offset. There's always a problem when somebody's trying to build a report and they want to compare this period to a period last year. So they would go and they have a date selection here, and then they're going to put another date selection there and another date selection somewhere else. So the financial period offset just makes that easy for you. And it's a pretty simple function, but the power of it in making life easy is just phenomenal from my point of view. So that I'll do as part of the demo. Okay, then the account console list. Now, you all know that within MYOB Advanced, if you've got consolidation accounts set against any GL account, to get a list and then build that report becomes quite difficult. What the account console list does, says, okay, if you've now got a consolidation and you want to see the underlying accounts, which those are the account numbers you need to add up everything into that consolidation item, it'll tell you what they are. Once you've got that list, you can now do anything with it, and life becomes easy. So what was quite a difficult process has been made very easy by that, and your consolidations become completely automated. Okay. The next one is your accounts and sub-accounts with history. This falls under your list functions, okay, and is actually phenomenal in producing a set of value. If you haven't ever played with it, I would urge you to go and play with it, because you can use ranges in it. So if you're trying to build a dynamic report, and by dynamic I mean a report that you don't have to touch and update, and you're doing it at a detailed level, this is the way to do it, because you can specify a range. These are my cost of sale accounts, and specify that range, look at it at a detailed level. It'll tell you those that have got some history. Okay, and not only that, you're not only looking at your account number and your sub-account number, but you now have the ability within that one function to also look at all your branches. So you can create a seriously dynamic report that just works. If a new account comes in, it's put in and is used, well, there'll be some history on it. So it'll come into that list of information. Okay. We use just accounts and sub-accounts history. We use that extensively in our reporting when we work with people. And the whole aim of that, and also at another level, your account classes, is about making reports dynamic. They shouldn't require maintenance. Okay. Yes, they require updating because everything evolves, but using the right functions in the right places just means that your life becomes easy thereafter, and reports update, somebody opens them up and the information is all there for them. Okay. Text split is an interesting one. Okay, quite often people give you a set of data and it all sits in maybe a comma delimited thing, and you now want to work with that data. So often people then go and copy that into Excel, into another sheet, and split it up and do things with it. Text split will take a delimited set of data. It might not just be by, it might be by comma, it might be by colon, it could be by anything, and it'll split it into its individual pieces. So that then makes it really easy for you to use that in your formulas. All right, the next one is unique by pattern. Okay, so I'm not going to use it for you, but know that if you have a list of all your sub accounts and you want to split them into individual items so that you can then build, quite complex drop down lists and that sort of stuff for selection, unique by pattern will split things out for you, and you use wildcards with it and then put that all together with a very standard Excel function called concatenate. If you haven't ever used it, don't know that it exists, go and read up about it. It just puts things together. So one, you've found what you want, you've split it up, and now you've put it together in the way you want it. No rocket science in doing that. Looks complex, looks like a phenomenal type of function, but actually quite easy to use. Okay. Right, the last two functions are what we call audit functions. It's quite good to have a menu on the front of a big report where people can navigate around and look at things, but also good to know that when was that report last refreshed, and also who last refreshed it. Okay, so that is all drawn basically from your connection details. So quite good to always see who has that report, who's working with it, and when you open it, that's what you will see. Okay. At the bottom here, we've got a link to all the functions. Okay, I'm sure some of you have seen them. Some people work intuitively, and there are all your Velixo functions, and there's a huge amount that you can do with them. So at the top, you've got your GL functions, and as you go down, you get to your list functions, and thereafter to a huge number of project functions. And then you'll start seeing functions you might never have seen. Here, your generic inquiry functions. I'm going to speak to that specifically just after that, but this is a huge amount of power here. And then you've got your audit functions, and now coming in the new version, so you're starting to see things coming in, are different write back functions and arguments. I'm not going to even touch on those. Most people haven't got them yet. Upgrades will come in end of January, February, probably, into the MYOB Advanced Velixo world, if I can put it that way. Okay. Right, so those are the functions that I'm going to go through. I'll touch some of them in the demo. The next thing I want to talk about is the GR function and why it is so powerful. Okay, so Excel has a thing called the dynamic array. And basically what a dynamic array is one formula produces a whole table of data. Okay, the production of that table is fun. They call it spilling into the table. So you've got a function, I'll show you it, and it spills into this table. You sometimes get a thing called a spill error. All that means is that within the area that it's going to spill into, there's something in the way. Take that out the way and the data fills. That is dynamic in nature. So if something in the data changes in the background and you refresh your report, it will change, and you will have up-to-date information within that array. And that array is just really a set of data that's sitting behind a pivot table, or you could be doing anything with it. Okay. So those are dynamic arrays in Excel. There's some really good links, and there's some really good YouTube videos on them. They are powerful. Okay. So everybody knows that within MYOB Advanced, there are a whole number of generic inquiries that exist there. Okay, how do you see those? Well, you see those in Velixo by exposing them to OData, and then you can pull them straight into your reports using the generic inquiry function. Okay, Having said that, behind every function we use, there is a generic inquiry of some sort within Velixo, within MYOB Advanced anyway, okay? But remember that you can write a generic inquiry on just about any piece of data in MYOB Advanced. So let's follow that through to the natural thing of where you can go. Take the dynamic array, you can get any data out with the GR function, and now all of a sudden you've got the ability to report across anything in any way you want. It's just data, okay? If you don't have the GR function as part of your license at this stage, please speak to Stephen's team and let's order your trial and play with it. And you know, there are any number of people that can assist you at Kilimanjaro to show you how to use it. It is not difficult to use. On the Velixo site, there's quite a bit of writing. You can search it, just search generic inquiries, and you'll get a whole lot of stuff about the functions, about using it as well. Okay, all right. To access them from Velixo, you use the function, but you must, as I say, expose them to OData, which is done within MYOB Advanced. Okay. You will get a lot of people will say, oh, you don't need that. You can go and create a generic link straight out of Excel to a generic inquiry. And yes, you can do that. Okay. Is it in a robust environment? No, it's not a robust environment. You then, if you want to give it to other people, you need to move it across. Don't forget about how the security works with Velixo and MYOB Advanced, where they're completely integrated. But the most overriding thing is you have the ability with Velixo to filter your generic inquiry on extract. This makes it so much more efficient doing it that way. So you can save literally a report that might run for 10 minutes or run in 30 seconds because you can filter it on extract, not with the OData link. You're pulling it all in, and then you are once you pulled it in, then you're filtering it. So all the data, and then you filter it, whereas only the filtered data comes in what you need. Okay. Accessing dynamic arrays in Excel, just so you know, because a dynamic array sits in one cell, you name that cell as a named range, and I'll show you I'll do that when I'm creating a list for you. And then you put a hash after it, and the hash says to Excel, give me the whole array, not just that one cell. Very good thing to remember. Okay. You can also put arrays together. Now within Velixo, there's a collate function, which allows you to add different sets of data together. And because you might have data coming from different things, and you might have them in different tenants, and you want to add them together, you can do it that way. Okay. All right, sorry. Okay, before we get there, and I'll just go back to my previous slide, I'm going to then flick over and I'm going to show you a few things in Excel itself with Velixo. Okay, all right. So here I've created a data sheet. Remember I said in report building, create a picture, look at what you're doing, understand your GL. How have I done this? I'm just using list functions. So if you look at cell C4 there, that's an expand account range, which is a list function, which is no different from going and using insert chart of accounts. You can see it has a border around it. It is a dynamic array. Okay. Then I've gone and I've just added the account class and also the account name. So I have a picture of the accounts. And now what I want to do with that, well, you could use that in all sorts of different things. Okay. Particularly also with your sub accounts. Here is my expand the sub account range, and I've dropped it in. Now I have a picture of the sub accounts, but if you look closely at the sub accounts, they're obviously split into different segments. This looks like it's got 3 segments, and now you would go and use, if you wanted to split that out, you could use that in unique by pattern, and in that way you can create something that's dynamic. Another way of doing it is to then use your wildcards in creating it. However, you need to split it out first to get to the wildcard, then it becomes automatically not dynamic. So much easier to use unique by pattern and then the collate function to put them all together. Okay, then I've dropped your projects in. So that's just a picture of the accounts. Okay, before I get to building the report, I want to show you the GR function. Okay, very quickly and easy, I have in the system a standard function called AR invoices and memos. Some of you might have seen this before. If you have, my apologies, but bear with me, there are people that haven't seen it. Okay, so we want to go and drop that in here. I'm going to write Kilimanjaro in here because I want this to give you a spill error. Okay, and now I just start typing IntelliSense is phenomenal equals GI. There, that's IntelliSense. Double click the GI. My connection I know is FD. Okay, let's move past it. I now want the name of the GR function. There it is there. AR invoices and memo. Remember, if you're writing it in, it's a name. It needs to go in inverted commas. I'm not going to filter it. I'm going to drop the whole thing. The select column says, what columns do you want out of this array and also in what order? And so, you put that in. I'm just saying, give me everything. And do I want the header? I do, so you can actually see the structure of the data. Hit enter, and it's now busy thinking and pulling that data in, and busy loading, and that'll turn into a spill error. There you go. If I click on it, it says, okay, there's one dynamic array. If you navigate down, it goes to 1,000 odd rows and quite far across. I know that Kilimanjaro is in there. Delete that, and it just drops the data in. Simple and easy. Now, if you want to filter that, it's a case of using the GI filter. Equals GI filter. There we go. And also quite going back, FD, just going quickly. The name of the function, there it is, comma. Now you've got any multiple number of criteria that you want to use. In your customer column in F, I want to filter on the customer. And I only want customer 28, 5, and 99. I close the brackets, hit enter, and it writes a filter for me. So this is an OData syntax type filter. I go back to my array here, that's sitting in cell D1. And I think the first one here, there's my filter, D1, enter, it redraws it. And if you look at the data now, it's only given you what you want. So from a point of view of the speed with what you want to get, it's very simple. Now, you can go and name that range, just call it data or raw data or something. And when you reference that in the pivot table, if you put a hash after it, it'll give you the whole array. So quite simple to build pivot tables from it. It looks like a simple process. The power of the generic inquiries are phenomenal. What I do want to say is you don't have this yet, but in the top here, in fact, some people might have it if they have the insider version, there's generic write back. So within MYOB Advanced, you can create upload scenarios, and you can now use those upload scenarios from within Velixo to upload any data back into MYOB Advanced. It's very powerful. Okay, right. I've done some of the work beforehand. So I don't want to waste too much of your time, but let's have a look at building this for you. So I've got my expense accounts down the left. I've got 3 different financial years that I want to compare. Okay, and I first of all need a list of data. So here's my period list. Okay, and I'll go equals expand financial period list. There we go. Double click it. Okay, and my connection is FD, comma. So I'm just creating a list of all my periods, but I'm going to restrict it. The start period that I want is 01-2021. Okay. The end one that I want is 12. In fact, I've got them there. Let me go back. Sorry, make it easier. There's my first one, comma, and I want it to go to there. There's my second one, comma. Should include adjustment. Just go past that, include what you need to, just standard sort order. okay, and close the brackets, enter, and it gives me a value because I've got too many commas in there. Okay, so there I've got a period list of the year, and I'm going to name that, and I'll just call it say demo list. Okay, hit enter. Right, now I want to put a drop down list in here. If you don't know how to do a drop down list, this is how you do it. Go to your data tab, and then at the bottom here, I actually don't know the name of that, but it's part of your validation. Okay, data validation. And I don't want any value. I want a list, and my named range was equals. I've forgotten what I wrote there. Demo list. Sorry. Equals demo list. Okay. Now I put a hash after it, because otherwise it'll just give me the top cell. Okay, there we've got it. Okay, and now we can go and select a period as an example. I've linked this cell to that cell. Now these ones here, I now need to go not use my own drop down. I'm going to also link them to that. So we go equals financial period offset. There we go. And my connection is FD, comma, where's the period? That's the period we want there. Okay. And what is the offset? It's -12. Okay, so it's the same period last year. Okay, there we go. And here we go, equals financial period offset. And once again, we go -24. There we have it. So now we've got 3. Now when we go and change that, everything changes. All right. Okay, so now let's go. Let's quickly put an account name in here. And let's make it easy. There's my account name. Close the bracket, enter. And I'll just drop that down by using the fill cell, or no, because there's a column in the way. It's just going to put that in there. Okay, so there's all my expense accounts. Now it's really not difficult at this stage. Equals account turnover. Help if you put the 2 T's in turnover. Okay. Standard function, I'm sure you've all used it hundreds of times. Where's my ledger? There's my ledger there. Okay. And I will absolute that, so just the row, so I can copy it across. Okay. And I'm not using account classes. I'm actually using the account. There's my account. I'll absolute that for the column, so that when I do copy it across, it stays where it is. I'm not using a sub account. I'm not using a branch. The period that I am using is that period there. Okay. And I will just lock it, not the most efficient way, but I'll lock that. And the 2 period, that one as well. And then the final thing, do you want posted or unposted? Let's just go with posted. There's my account turnover on that cell. Okay. When I now copy that over to budget, I should get it there. What's my budget? It's general actual, sorry, budget minus actual. There we go. And now I could literally drop that down. There we go. Now I could go take that and copy that and paste that here and paste that there. And you might say, well, why they're all the same? So we just need to go and change the G to a K. Now 1 and that to an O. Done. And let's just drag the whole lot down. And here we have a dynamic report. Now you can do whatever you want to. You can put rules on it. You could put conditional formatting, whatever you want to do. That's for that period. Let's have a look at maybe the first period. There we have it, and you'll see your changes as you go through. So 1, you've seen a list. 2, you've seen the use of the financial period offset to make life easy. And this now becomes a dynamic analysis tool used by somebody. It's not anything radical, but it certainly illustrates the point. Okay, so from my side, we're done there. And any questions?
So we haven't actually got a lot of questions from the audience at this stage. It'd be great if you can all just feel free to use the Q&A button. Jump in there, and I see that there was a question there that Gabby's just asked on the chat. If you could just put that in the Q&A button. But we've got a few questions started to come through. One of our attendees just asked Chris, why don't I have access to the function financial period offset? Now, what release of Velixo did that come out in?
I think it came out in the last release. Okay, so happy for either your support guys or our support guys to meet up with that customer and just make sure they're on the last version. Okay.
So it's probably just a matter of updating the version. Now you can do that off the Velixo website as well, can't you, Chris? Maybe if you can just bring up the easiest place to download the latest version, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that is just the easiest place to download it. And please be aware that when you do download it, if it has new functions in that you don't have, you'll just need access to the API for that one moment to copy them in.
That's right. Yeah. But if you need any help with that, please don't hesitate to reach out to the support team. They can sort that through for you. Now, a question from Karen. Can we download this worksheet from somewhere? Chris, do you think you could make a couple of those worksheets, those samples available for the attendees, and we can bundle that up along with the recording of the presentation as well?
No problem. I will send my full demo report. There are a whole lot of hidden sheets in there that I'll unhide, take out anything that shouldn't be there. And yeah, happy to send that to anybody to use. I do note I'll fix up that final sheet. There's a comment from somebody about why the budget's all the same. Well, I only changed the certain cells there, and it is demo data. So generally they put it in and just copy it across everything. But yeah, so I'll send that through after the meeting.
Fantastic. Next question here from Tim, and we might just need to interpret this one. Can we make the drag down automatic? Just expanding upon that. In other words, instead of dragging down the Velixo formula, having it automatically drag down based on the dynamic array.
Don't quite understand that. Look, a formula will always drop automatically if you click the fill box. So let me just go back to my report. Okay. If just because I know I've got a set of data here, or just let's use this dynamic array here and go equals financial period end date. Okay, use that one and just go FD comma. I hope I'm doing what you thought. There's my period. Okay, close that, hit enter. That's a date. So you just need to go and make those dates. Short date. Okay, then to fill that down, you just double click your fill and it should fill down, but it's not filling down correctly. So I'm not sure what I've done there. I
think you're referencing the demo
I'm
list instead of the actual cell.
Yeah. So the cell is S7.
S6, I think.
S6.
But anyway, that's fine.
Yeah,
I think you're right. S7. Sorry.
There we go. Yeah. So there, that's one way of dropping it down. I have seen people, there is a function called expand formula range or something like that, which is standard in Excel. I'll dig out some stuff on that, and I'm happy to send it with that sheet so people know where to go and look to find it.
Fantastic. All right. Now, a question here from Lara. The GI module should be able to access payroll data, but will that not give everyone access to the payroll data? Could you just talk through the security around GIs, Chris, and how that would impact a user that is wanting to access payroll information?
So let's just go back to my connection. So in this thing, I've got a connection. I'm going to edit it so you can see it. It's a set of data. Okay. You put in your username and password into it. So the report will only show what you can see through your username and password. So if you don't have access to payroll data in MYOB Advanced, you will not get it in your report. It is as simple as that. And it gives you a very, very specific error message that says this generic inquiry is refusing access to data. The error message is very specific. So no, there is absolutely no way that somebody could get access to that data. However, there are a couple of rules. The first rule is please don't click remember me when you distribute a report to other people, because it will remember your credentials. Okay. Any other rules? No fancy ones there.
Fantastic. That's great. Chris? Question here from Alicia. Can I put two sets of data together from two different tenants?
Yep. So here we go. Two different tenants. You would, in your connection manager here, you would have a connection to one tenant. Remember that, if I edit that again, a Velixo connection is specific to a tenant. In old terms, read tenant as separate database. So your functions and everything, so they work separately. We've got so many companies that have a tenant for, say, the Australian operation, a tenant for the New Zealand, a tenant for the US. So you've got three different connections now. Putting those together, it's actually all the same data, but you need to bring it from other places, and you would use the collate function. And when you bring up the collate function, it will ask you to pick up the first array, pick up the second array, pick up the third, and put them together. The trick is make sure that's the same sets of data. Putting disparate sets of data requires a little more work, but normally people are trying to report on the same set of data. Okay.
Very good. Now, another question here, is there a way to select data for project turnover by sub-account?
There is. Okay, so because you can enter information and tag a sub-account or project anywhere, you can always create a generic inquiry that pulls that data together. However, your project operation and your general ledger operation, although they all end up together, it's actually a sub-ledger, and it's working in silos. So yes, you can put them together. Is it efficient? It's not too bad, but it's not as slick as most other things. However, there is a school of thought that says when you're using projects, you should be using groupings and cost codes within projects to formulate data. But the quick answer is yes, you can certainly create a GI. We've done it a number of times for people so that you can pull that data together.
Very good. And certainly if you have some questions around how to create a generic inquiry to manage that additional data source, just don't hesitate to reach out to the support team that can assist you with that. One final question, which is a little bit more of a Excel question than a Velixo question, but can you make just around date formatting? Can you just give a little bit of a quick overview of the date formatting feature there in Excel that you were using in column T?
Okay, so basically, if you working in Excel, works on the principle that the world started on the 1st of January 1900. Okay, that's how it works. And from there, that gives it a date. So if I just go back to where I was earlier, and unhide that, unhide, 44043 is your days since the 1st of January 1900 going forward. Now, when you get to formatting, now I've just used standard formatting, okay, from your home tab. This is the quick way for mugs like me to use, and use a short date or a long date. You also have the ability to use syntaxes within that, which will give you different things. And there's so much information on Google around it. What I will say though is dates within Excel should be simple, but they're not. It is one of the complex things, and I'm sure that's why the answer is, the question's been asked. There is, I'll try and find it. I watched a very good video a few years ago on YouTube on working with dates in Excel. And I'll try and find that and add it to the list of information when I send it, Stephen. In fact, maybe I'll just see what I can find and write a blog post on using dates and give it to you to get out there.
Good idea. Now, one more question here. Why can't I filter some fields in the GI filter function? It keeps saying invalid field, even if I use a single table and I can see the field within the table.
I would think that is related to security. I've seen it a few times where people with the correct, in theory, the correct security rights can't filter on fields and work with them. And often, or every time that I've seen it, it's been a security fix by the BP and their support team, and not a Velixo issue. It's not to say it could not be a Velixo issue, but everyone is different. But you should be able to filter on any field.
Yeah, I just suggest, Frankie, just reach out to the support team. They can have a bit of a look at that with you and just determine if that's determine what the problem is there with that one. I think that's our last question, Chris. Did you want to jump back to the presentation and we can finish that off?
Okay.
And just really just to highlight, there may be a little bit of functionality that you've seen within today's demonstration, particularly around the GI, the generic inquiry function, where that is a licensed module within Velixo. That does enable you to expand the usage of Velixo out beyond just general ledger and projects, and access any generic inquiry within MYOB Advanced and pull that data into Excel for manipulating and reporting. If that's something that you don't have but you're interested in, just feel free to reach out to the team. You should know your account manager. There is a couple of points of contact there. If you're not sure, we can put you in contact with the right individual. And of course, Chris is also available for any further questions. And on that note, I just want to thank you, Chris, for a wonderful session.
Thank you.
It was great to get some information out to the group. And yeah, feel free, everybody, to reach out if there's any further questions. I'm sure the support team would be more than happy to assist.
Thank you very much.
Thanks all. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Cheers.